Okay, we just talked the C major scale. A very easy scale because it was all white notes. What I want to talk about now is going back to this idea of the major scale and how I mentioned that it uses this formula of tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. All right? We all remember that one. I'll just write out the C major scale again. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So we established there that the semitones were between E and F, there, and B and C, there. Those were the semitones. Those are the ones that didn't have any black notes in between them. Okay? But C major scale is not the only major scale. There are other major scales. In fact, there's one for every letter of this alphabet, from A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So that's 7 already, but there are more of other kinds as well, which we'll get into. But the first one I want to do, a very simple one, is G major. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write out the G major scale here as follows. A bit of a different way than I did it last time. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now you see the reason I wrote it out like this is so that we can line up this part of C major scale with this part of G major. You'll see that they share a few notes in common. Okay? But we'll have to just tweak it a little bit because we need to check some things. Firstly, does this rule still apply? Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. We'll now G is our starting note. The starting note is known as the tonic of the scale. It's kind of like home. Whenever you see the G and you're in G major, you're back home. Okay, so G's our tonic and we'll start here. So the first one, G to A, we're looking here, we can see that's a tone, so that's fine. That's a tone. A to B, tone. B to C is a semitone. Now that's okay, because that's in the right spot. Tone, tone, semitone. Tone, tone, semitone. Okay, so the rule's correct. We'll keep going. C to D, well, we know that's a tone. D to E, that's a tone. E to F, that's a semitone. Well, that's not going to work. We'll come back to that. And then F to G is a tone, so that's not going to work either. So what's happened here is that now we're in G major. We've got the semitone and tone in the wrong spots. We need to fix it so that this still sounds like a major scale. What does it sound like if I'm just playing G major without changing this? It doesn't have the sharpened seventh. It doesn't sound... It's that note there that needs to change. So what we do is we adhere to the formula. So E to F was a semitone. We need to turn it into a tone. We need to raise it by 1. This means introducing a black note. So this one here, F needs to be raised to F sharp. The sharp symbol looks like that, right? Looks like a hash. Means you're raising it by 1 semitone. So we've now made it E to F sharp. What that has done is turned E to F into a tone and F sharp to G into a semitone. It's quite elegant. By changing one note, you swap the two intervals here. The semitone becomes the tone and the tone becomes the semitone because you've now shrunk that distance between F sharp and G. Now I'll play that again. So you got that sound where I've raised it, got an F sharp, and now we've got the correct formula. So this describes, again, that's a G major scale, and that is using the same thing that we did here. Okay?
Did you say tones between the B and the C that's a semitone?
I did, yes. Between the B and the C is a semitone. Yes, that's right. Here. I'll do another one so you can see it just again that it's correct. Would anyone like to pick a letter from the alphabet? Someone pick a letter. F. F. Okay, let's do F major. Okay? I'll do F major. I'll draw it here. I think that's probably going to make the most sense. So F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, I've written it out again so that we've got them sort of lined up together. let's look at this again and see whether it has the same rule, tone, tone, semitone, and so on. So, F to G. Are we all following this?
Yes.
Yep, F to G is a tone. Yep. G to A is a tone. A to B, tone. Oh, that's wrong. It should be a semitone, but A to B is a tone. Right, there's a mistake there, so we'll leave that. B to C is a semitone, so that's wrong. C to D is a tone. D to E, tone. E to F, semitone. So remember, that's that same semitone. We don't have an F sharp this time. So this is the F major scale. Now it's wrong in the middle here. The ending is okay. Tone, tone, semitone. But then these parts here, this semitone and tone are wrong. Now what's happening is that A to B is a tone, but we want it to be a semitone. We want it to be a semitone, which means we have to make a tone become a semitone, meaning we have to flatten it. We have to reduce it. So to flatten this B here, we use the flat sign. The flat sign, which looks like a B, a sort of a lowercase b. It's a little bit more angular than that, but that's what the flat sign looks like. We flatten it and turn it into a B flat, which gives us the semitone now. And then, again, it solves the problem here. This becomes a tone, B flat to C. Because it was, B to C was a semitone, B flat to C is now a tone because we've stretched it. So what does a F major chord, scale sound like? Sounds correct. You hear how different it sounds just by taking out that B flat. Sounds funky. So that's how you get the F major scale. Now, I don't expect anyone to have to keep working this out every time. We're going to do a really quick formula for how to work out any major or any major scale effectively. It's quite straightforward because every piece of music you'll see has at the start of it what we call a key signature. The key signature, it's spelt like this, so key signature. And that is essentially telling you where home is. It's telling you what key you're in. The key signature will be a bunch of sharps or flats at the start of the piece of music. So you may see something like this. You may see something like that. And on every line of the music, you'll see this at the start of each line. What that's telling you is where the sharps are. Okay, key signature either has sharps or it has flats, or it has nothing. So this one here, it's got 4 sharps. If I drew that correctly. Yeah, I did, yeah. It's got 4 sharps. And every time you see a note that sharp is part of, you know to sharpen that note. So if I see this note here, which you remember, every good boy deserves, that's a D. We know that every D you see becomes a D sharp every time you sing it or you play it on the keyboard. And this D sharp also applies to the D down here. So it applies to every D you see. Likewise, if we saw this here, now we're on a space, so we're thinking face, F-A-C, that's a C sharp. You're sharpening the C into a C sharp. Okay, so that's what the key signature does. It tells you what notes to sharpen or flatten. You can also have flat key signatures. But to work out where home is, you can't just tell from the sharps. You need to look at, the last sharp. So when we're looking at sharp key signatures, the formula is very straightforward. You look at the last sharp, say there's 4, say there's 5, whatever. You look at the last sharp, which in this case is D sharp, and then you raise it by 1 semitone. Just by 1 semitone. So this here was a D sharp. You raise D sharp up a semitone, which gets you to E. Okay. So this is E major. This is the E major key signature. Okay, I'll do one more. We'll have a key signature like this. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sharps. We're going to look at the last sharp. What kind of sharp is this? A sharp, yes, because we're in F-A is the space. So that's A sharp. Yep, again, we're going to raise it up a semitone, which gets you what? B. Okay, so this one is B major. Okay? That's the trick for sharp key signatures. We also need to do one trick for flat key signatures. So for flat ones, so flats, as I've shown you, look like this. Something like that. That's a flat key signature. What you want to do with this is, for the flats, you look at the second last flat from the right, the second last one, which in this case would be this. And what kind of flat is that? A flat, yep. And that's your key signature. That's it. So it's just the second last flat. So to describe this key signature, you call it A flat major. So the second last flat. I'll do another one. Okay. Now our second last flat is here, which is on a line. So that second line there. So that there is a G, yes. So G flat major. You want to get into the habit of naming it like that. Don't call it G major. That's something else. G flat major. Remember that the flat applies to the name. Yep. So that's the rule for all flats. Now you'll notice that there's one flat that you can't do with this formula, because if the key signature only has one flat, then you can't look at the second last one. So there's one key signature with one flat. And this one, there's no trick for. You just have to remember, if you see the one with one flat, that's called F major. That's F major. In fact, it's the one we just did with these tones and semitones. We established, didn't we, when we wrote down F major, that it only has one flat. We flattened the B into a B flat. So F major is the one with one flat. And I guess there's one that was also missed out. What about when you have no flats or sharps? What's that? C major, the one we started with. Yep, so 0, sharps, or flats, yeah, is C major. Okay? And again, what is consistent about every single major scale, whether it's got sharps or flats in it? This formula, this description of tones and semitones. If it doesn't fit that, then you're not in a major scale. You're somewhere else. Okay?